Cause I got my friends. They laugh when I'm not that funny. Don't try to make me be somebody. Cause if they did, then they're not my friends. Don't care if I'm lying.
See you, Dallas. Let's do it. On three. Hey guys, it's good to see you again. Welcome to Friendsday Wednesday. Another week of us just talking and getting to know each other. And we thank you so much for following us. We thank you for viewing. We thank you for all of the feedback. We thank you for the support, the love. God, we're just guys, we're just so grateful for you. So just thank you for the support. And we know what we're doing it for. We know why we're doing it. We're going to go in a little bit more into that today as well. But first, before we go to anything, you know what we do. It starts with prayer. So I would just love to say, God, we thank you. We love you. We adore you. We hope that you bless our communication and that you just allow us to have fun and allow other people to have a small peek into this friendship that we have formed. It's in Jesus' name that we pray and we thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that, Keisha.
All right.
So, okay, I'll just get this started, right? So, y'all, today I was in the shower and I'm like, okay, Lord, I need your help with what do I want to know about these ladies that I don't know, right? And so as I'm taking my shower, and let me also say, like, I'm struggling with the flu today, so y'all gonna have to work with me because I'm struggling. But I'm here. This is what we do as friends. We show up, right? But y'all don't know is we didn't all know each other as we came into this. But when I was in the shower, God was like, Rosie and Odalis, y'all have done life together for the last 10 years, every weekend after almost day one of meeting. You know, Janae. Janae is your cousin, but there's so much more to get to know about Keisha. And in saying that, Keisha, I've seen you at cookouts. We've met like, hey, girl, how you doing? We just keep it moving. And there was nothing bad or anything like that. I just feel like God ordains time and connection. And when the time is right, he will bring people together, right? So in saying that, Keisha, my question is directed at you. What does it mean to be a friend for you? Like, what is true friendship? Because we're new friends. We're just doing this thing. God put us on this journey together, and it's been so exciting. But I wanted to just get to know that about you.
Well, first, I want to say, just so you guys will know, and I should have covered this a little bit more in the intro. The whole purpose of this episode is for you guys to get to know us and we get to know one another. And so that's why she's asking these questions. And so, what does friend mean? I know we touched on it a little bit in the friend section. I think friend is someone who you can do life with, who loves you loves you for who you are. Calls you on who you are, shows you grace, mercy, and just is that he just loves you. So it's a lot that I could say about friends. Friends are very special to me, but I am extremely excited to come into a friendship with these ladies. And she hinted on it. No, we weren't all friends. But that's just how God works. Mm-hmm. And so you'll hear a little bit about that and how we came together and how Janae scared the crap out of me when she came to me with this idea. Y'all wasn't ready. But anyway, so that's what friends is to me. It's just someone who you can do life with, who loves you and who cares enough about you to be honest when they need to be honest, but shows you grace when that's what you need.
And can I just say this about Keisha not being ready? So Keisha and I had talked like not too long ago. And she was literally like, I wish people could hear like some of these conversations, right? She was just like, I wish other women would talk about the stuff that they went through so that other women could hear that they weren't in these experiences by themselves, that they weren't alone, so that they could kind of learn from it and just kind of know that they're like not by themselves. And she was like, it would be good for us to have that circle. And so when I talked to her, she was like, yeah, but I didn't mean like this. Like I meant like in another circle or private circle. So
yeah, because I mean, you have to think about it. Me and Janae were at a birthday party. It was just the two of us talking. What I wasn't thinking about was a podcast. Like I was not. But what I will say is Janae was one of those people, even in some of the hardest times, she and her husband came alongside of us and they were just God sent. And we have always been so grateful for that. So when we were having that conversation, that dialogue, it came from a place, but it's just, I didn't realize that this is what God was going to move us into. So it was scary, I will say, to hear that. But I also had to step back, get out of the way, and let God do his thing, because he was obviously doing a new thing. And I didn't want to be in the way. So that's kind of that. So thanks for asking, Nita. That's a little bit about me.
Follow-up question, though, to what Nita just asked you, Keisha.
Yeah.
Being in this space with us being mature women, do you think it's easier or harder to make friends as an adult? Why or why not?
Okay, y'all gonna put me on the spot. And I say that because I am an introvert. Like, I am in my own shell, in my own world. I love like my little bubble. So I don't go out into the world saying, ooh, I want to make new friends. I don't push it away. But so it's hard to say, do I find it hard? Because that's not my goal. It's just that I kind of do me. I'm good with my circle, but I don't want that to be taken the wrong way. It's just that I'm not out here like, oh, I need a new friend. Oh, I need a new friend. Like, I'm good in my circle. I'm happy with the people who God has placed in my life. And so I'm not just out seeking like that in that way. But I have to stay open for when God wants to use me in someone else's life. I have to be ready and I have to be obedient, like this podcast. It wasn't something I was jumping to do, but I know I needed to do it.
Thank you. I love that answer.
Janae. So I know we found out after we joined the podcast that you and Anita are cousins. Well, we knew that before that, but anyways, our audience probably didn't know that you guys are cousins. So my question to you is, do you guys grew up close, or did that happen after you guys became adults?
So I would say when we were younger, so there's an age gap. I'm not gonna talk about the age gap, but there is an age gap. So when we all lived in Philadelphia, Nita has two older brothers that are closer in age to me. So we all kind of hung out together. We went to school together. We went to Catholic school. Can y'all believe it? We went to school together. But I was always at their house, like growing up, just always at their house. And so we moved down south, and then I think, Nita, I don't know when y'all came down south. It was like a year after.
I think it was like a year after.
Yeah, it might have been a year after. And I would probably say it may have been like a little bit as we got older. Maybe, Nita, you might have been in high school. I might have been in college. But we we had some life situations and circumstances to kind of show up. And so we ended up kind of living, we all had to kind of move to Nita's house, her mom's house at that time. And so we kind of grew up more like all of us. My mom, well, probably me versus my sisters, I would probably say probably me. I probably grew up more like a sister and brother to them. Not a sister and brother, but y'all know, like, I'm jet lag. I probably grew up as a sister to them because I was constantly always around them. But I think it was probably maybe a little bit after we got older. Maybe I was in college and I think Nita was in high school. But like within the last couple of years, it's just really, I would say maybe the last, maybe 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just really, we just, so many things in life that we're just constantly calling each other about as we're navigating. We just find good partnership, not just being cousins, but good friendships and relationship, and being able to talk to each other and having like a godly perspective when we do. So it's kind of just morphed that way over the years. So yeah.
I'm going to interrupt real fast because I just have to say, only northern women talk about down south. Because when we were growing up, the South was, you going down South? You from down South? So when I heard Janae say that, I was like, okay. So just know for anyone, I also grew up in Philadelphia as well. I came down here for college. So how does that even work, right? It's 3 of us here on this call. None of us are still there, but God brought us together anyway.
Yeah, I cried though. Oh, I cried. My mom told me we were moving down south. I was in the 5th grade. I cried. I stayed up there for a minute, and my mom was like, "School starting, you got to come." I didn't want to make that transition, but I think overall, it was probably a better move, I guess. I still miss parts of Philly, but yeah.
I was too young. Like, I was like, oh, we going to South Carolina? Okay. I was too young. But you know what? And just to also, follow up on that, like, just because your family does not mean you're friends, right? So it has been quite amazing the way that Janae and my friendship has just how things have gone over the last 10 years. Like, Janae is almost, if not first, second, but she's gonna be in that number and who I call when life's. And the most comforting aspect of that is the fact that we also are a family. So there's aspects of it that we just get because of that DNA connection, right? But just to have that friendship, it has been awesome on this journey of life. You all right, Janae?
Because life be lifing. And speaking of life, so I'm gonna ask you, Rosie. So, what is something that you feel like has significantly changed your life? Could be something good, could be something challenging. Like, just what do you feel like, on this life journey has significantly changed your life or has shaped your life to some degree? Like I said, it could be something great, it could be something challenging, your choice.
Oh gosh. Okay. So that is an easy question, but a difficult one because there's been so much, but I think the pivotal moment that changed my life was my decision to leave and join the Air Force. And I say that to say, I was on scholarship. I was at a prestigious university. I was the first in my family to go to college, but I was also working 3 jobs, trying to help my mother just survive. And I was struggling, y'all, out here, just not understanding who I was, what my purpose was. And I met a person who, he actually saved my life because when I was 19, I almost drowned. I had a near drowning experience. And so he saved me while I was at a community pool from people who threw me into the deep end of the pool. And he recognized that I was struggling. So he pulled me out and we formed a really, really close friendship. I regret that we don't have contact now, but he just suggested that I join the military after some conversation that we'd had growing that friendship. And so he took me to a recruiter and I made the decision to join the year of 9/11. Dropped out of school. I did almost a year, but dropped out of school. And my mother did not believe me. She was so upset with me, so angry with me. She's like, oh, you're really not going. So the day that it was time for me to pull chops, and that's a military term, and actually go, she wasn't home and I just left. And by the time I made that first phone call, she was livid. She was furious. But having the foresight back then to make that decision changed the trajectory, I think, of my life. So that was the pivotal turning point for me.
What made you feel like the military was like the place that you felt like this is where I kind of like I need to be or I want to be?
Well, I knew that there were opportunities for me to get my education. So that was my primary goal, was to finish my degree. And I have my best friend, Tamika, I call her my sister. She and I had a conversation after we graduated high school about college. And I already had a plan, but she didn't. So we actually were supposed to join the Army together. And she tells this story to anybody that's going to listen. But I abandoned her. I basically flaked on her and didn't show up. she didn't have a plan though. So she'll tell people that changed her life, but that conversation at least got me thinking that there was another option. So when it came time for me to make a decision on what I wanted to do, I knew that joining the military would give me, a career. I knew that it was going to actually help me take care of my family and travel and do things like that. So I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. Just listening to my friend, we called him Kuji, and we talked about, hey, what the benefits were, because he just known of some people that had gone that path. And I trusted him. I'm like, you saved my life, so I'm going to trust what you're telling me as opposed to other people that I have around me. Just a whole life story, but that, Janae, was definitely it. And I wouldn't have met my husband, but anyway.
Listen, we all got journeys and we never know where those journeys are going to take us and who they're going to allow us to connect with. So Well, Dallas, I want to ask you the same question.
What was that question again, Janae? Before Dallas answered?
What has like significantly changed or impacted, your life, whether it be something good or something challenging?
Okay.
I mean, my gosh, it's been a lot, but I would say the biggest thing was moving from Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico first. And then after that, I went to the United States, Tennessee for college. So I was 16 when I moved from DR, and it was traumatizing. Traumatizing. Everything was very different. I did not want to leave home. I cried. I cried all the way. I begged my mom to let me stay, at least until I finished high school. I was in high school. I had all my friends. So she said no. And I mean, I'm thankful now. I see the bigger picture. She had dreams for her and for us, her kids, right? So I finished high school in Puerto Rico, and then I wanted to learn English. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to study in the United States. And so that's how I ended up in Tennessee with one of my high school friends. She moved to Memphis, out of all places. And she told me, like, come and visit over here. And, you can work for FedEx and you can travel back home for free. I'm like, you know what? That sounds pretty cool. So I ended up in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's where I got my degree. So yeah, that was, I would say, the biggest thing. I mean, culture was different. Going to school, the school system was completely different than how I grew up. I grew up running outside, playing on the streets, and I couldn't do that in Puerto Rico anymore. So I felt almost like I had to be inside this room, like in jail, and I was not used to that. But I was thankful for like the new friends that I met. I mean, everything was just so different. In a way, even though Puerto Rico speaks Spanish and it's in the Caribbean and everything, right? But it's part of the U.S., so it's very, like the U.S., the culture.
What was so different, right? So we go to other places, and we travel, and it's like the food is different. We're clearly from America or whatever. What was so different from you from coming from the Dominican Republic to like Puerto Rico and then like Tennessee? Like, what was the biggest thing? And did you deal with being accepted? Like, did you deal with bullying or friendship issues?
So the biggest difference, because I was still in high school, right? The school system was completely different. First of all, in DR, we go for 4 hours to school, okay? And that's enough. So if it was in elementary school, we go from 8 to 12. And then at noon, we go home. And that's what we call the siesta, right? Or like the lunchtime. My dad will come home from work, and everything shuts down for 2 hours, from 12 to 2. And then at 2 o'clock, school starts again for high schoolers. So I was in the 2 to 6. I was a big kid. I come to Puerto Rico, and it's like, you had an entire day in school. That was traumatizing. I'm sorry. You eat there and everything. I'm like, I go home and eat. That's what we used to. It's funny because my brother, he was like in elementary school, right? And he will leave at noon every day. He didn't know he was supposed to stay until 3 o'clock. And then kids were asking, like his friends started asking, like, dude, like, why are you cutting? Like, he's like, what are you talking about? I go home at noon. Like, so anyways, that was different. The food was not that much different. Plus my mom was cooking at home, but the school food, I didn't, I did not like that. I was used to packing my little lunch like a snack, and we go outside and play. The whole entire school go together basically to play outside. When I was in Puerto Rico, we go at different times to this break or whatever. And, you didn't go to like do much playing. I don't know. It was just, so that was, the school was completely different, that part. And we used to walk everywhere in DR. We walked to school. We walked to the store. I would go to the fresh market every single day to buy the food that we're going to cook that day. And so in Puerto Rico, it's like everything is in a bus. You don't walk anywhere because you might get robbed or something. It was just, that part was different. And then going from there to Memphis, Tennessee, obviously the language, right? I knew English. Even when I was in DR, I was taking English as a second language, but it's not the same until you are there. It was I would say there was some racism that I never experienced before. People would ask me like, "What are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm Dominican." So what part of Mexico is that? That's not in Mexico. And then the whole like black and white. I didn't experience that until I moved to the United States, to Memphis, Tennessee. And so people will ask me constantly, so how do you identify? I'm like, I identify Dominican because that's who I am. Like, yeah, but are you, this or that? And I'm like, I'm neither. We are all the same. We are all humans. We doesn't matter. In my country, that doesn't matter. So that was my mindset. So that was another different. And of course, the food in Memphis was completely different. Sweet beans, like ever. Never in my life I ate sweet beans before. So that's some of it.
Can I piggyback on a little bit when you were talking about food? Of all the ladies here, how many of you enjoy to cook? I know Janae can cook. I know Nita, you can cook. Okay. Rosie, you don't enjoy it?
Oh, girl, yeah, I can throw down. Look.
Really? Okay. I can't cook a little bit. What about you, Dollar?
I can cook, but enjoying it like, oh, I'm going to cook.
Yeah.
That ain't always.
I rather somebody cook for me.
Okay.
Oh, Dallas throw down too. She got them hands. Now, I didn't always know how to cook, Janae. I was a terrible cook, but I married someone who comes from a family who knows how food should taste, and they actually taught me some things. So I've improved.
Not my gift.
You don't cook, Keisha?
Does your husband cook, Keisha?
No. Okay. No. We eat to survive. Like, it's not a joy for either of us. So I was just wondering how many of you, but nah, it's not my jam.
Yeah.
We're good. We don't miss a meal.
I know that's right.
So do y'all eat out a lot, or I mean,
no.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a very limited diet, and that is certain things I just don't want to eat. But that's what I mean by we eat to survive. So like before, like it would be cereal, it would be breakfast, like anything to get us through, we're good. A salad or something. I will cook, but it's not going to be gourmet. And he came from a family who cooks, and I got nothing for him. Got nothing for him. Well, he loves me through it. I'm grateful.
So when you say you eat to survive, what does that entail from your day to day? Like, how do you prepare your food?
I'm pretty basic. Like I eat oatmeal every day. And so I just keep it basic. And so that's what I mean by there's certain things I will cook, but it's not a matter of, say for instance, because I know like Rosie, you like, from what I've learned, you like to host things. Is never going to be a time where I'm bringing something that I cooked. It's not going to happen. I will ask you, what would you like for me to pick up? And I will even say, it could be your favorite spot, but I will go and pick it up. But so that's what I mean by what we eat, that's good for home. But it's not ever going to leave the house. That's for us. That's for our consumption only. So yeah, he's cool with it. So I'm grateful for that.
So I need to know the skincare regimen that you have, because you just have this glow about you.
Thank you. I wash my face with soap.
Okay. Hold on, I got all these background people. Guys, I'm recording. I'm sorry, you guys. That's gonna have to be cut out.
We're gonna have to have natural.
It's what's going on.
Friends are life, and we having conversations,
and it's just that simple.
They can't what it is.
Sorry, y'all.
So it's safe to say where we are now is family and things going on around each and every one of you. Like it's pretty much so. Yeah. Okay.
Can we go deep? Because I have a question for Janae that I really want to ask.
Okay.
What's something you wish you could tell your younger self?
Oh, you ain't even got enough time. Well, like, so I would say there are 4 things. There are 4 things that I would probably tell my younger self. One is when I was a little girl, my dad gave me a Bible, right? It was a Bible like a purse, right? So I would just put it on with my Sunday clothes. And, you know, my father is a preacher, a pastor. He was a preacher pastor. So I would just wear it when he would have us on the weekends to go with my attire. Had no clue, you know, what this Bible really was. It was just cute to me. I would tell her, read it. You're not going to understand everything. Read it and ask questions, right? Ask as many questions, try your best to understand it. But that word, and try your best to live by it. It is going to just be such a big part of your life and who you are. And you'll probably grow to learn. You'll probably grow to understand it more and more. But just open it up and start to read it in as much as you can, and just ask as many questions. The second thing that I would probably tell myself is that no matter what, never ever allow somebody to mishandle you. I don't care who it is. I don't care the situation. I don't care the circumstance. You have the right to say no. You have the right to use your voice. Don't compromise that for anybody, anything, any situation, right? And don't be afraid to speak up and don't be afraid to speak out. That would be the second thing. The third thing that I would tell her is never give up. No matter how hard life gets, no matter how dark life gets, God has something amazing for you, like absolutely amazing. It's going to be things that are going to blow your mind. So just hold on through the rough, when life be lifing. Just hold on through the rough parts, through the tough parts, but under no circumstance, don't ever give up, because what God has in store for you is something beautiful. The fourth thing I would tell her is say, look, you're going to get some money for like your birthday. You're going to work all these jobs. You're going to do all these little things. This is what I want you to do with your money. I want you to tithe 10%. If you don't know what that is, ask your mom and your daddy. I want you to take 40% of it, right? And you can spend that. And the other 50%, I want you to save it. When you get older, it's this thing that's going to come along called Google and Apple and Microsoft. And I want you to take that money, little girl, that you saved up, and I want you to invest in them jokers. Write it down right now, baby. Write it down. Google, Microsoft, Apple. I'm not talking about the red apple in the grocery store. I'm talking about Apple products. Technology. I want you to take that money and oil, invest in oil. And maybe, you know, when you start working at McDonald's, maybe think about owning a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A. Like that would be the fourth thing that I would tell my little self.
Love that. You got me all the way together. I wish I'd have known all that too, but thank you. I have a question for Anita. I'm sorry, y'all, because I've been knowing Anita for a while, but there's always a learning curve and you continue to learn and grow with each other. So I wanted to ask her, what is one thing that you can talk about all day if you have an opportunity to? I know the answer, but we're going to see.
One thing I could talk about all day is 2 things. As I get older, it has changed, right? So before, health and wellness, I can talk about health and wellness all day long. If you don't want to know the cause and effect and everything in between, do not call me, because I can have diarrhea of the mouth with that. And as I have grown to mature, I love talking about Jesus. Like the way my daddy bring me peace, I can talk about him all day long. The funny thing is, that's what me and Janae conversations be about. We be on the phone story after story, and we always be like, all right, I'm gonna tell you this one thing. Matter of fact, it's most of the people that I talk to, it's always like, let me tell you how God showed up in my life today. You ain't gonna believe this. And then it's sparks them to share their story. And then we're back and forth, right? And it's like, I'm gonna tell you this last thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. It never happens like that unless like something comes up to where we have to go. But those are the 2 things. And I know you asked for one, but both of them all day long. I love talking about it all day long.
I have a question for everybody. Since we just got started with this podcast, and I'm not even going to try to count the numbers. Like I'm past that already. But where we are now, what have you learned since we started doing this? It could be fun. It could be not fun. Like, what have you learned since we started this? And I can start by saying, I learned what, and it goes back to Rosie, your compliment. Is it microblading, micro something? Because y'all, for this podcast, I got my eyebrows done. Like I got on and I did it. And my very close friend, my bestie, she's the one we talked about it. And she was like, we're going to do it. And so we wound up doing it like 4 days later. And so that's one thing I learned is that you can actually, because I missed them, because you know how when you get older, you start losing hair everywhere. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one day too. And I got them, and I got micro shading, blading, micro something for my eyebrows, y'all. And so these not all mine, but look, I did it. So that's what I learned since on the podcast is I can do that and I can get my eyebrows back. What's something that y'all learned since we've been on this podcast?
Well, they popping, Keisha. They look good.
Thank you.
It's life changing,
Rosie.
That is so funny.
I don't know if it was something I learned, but I would say I feel like this podcast has opened up conversations between my husband and I, right? So a lot of times we'll like watch the podcast or say something or share something. So we've been having a lot of conversations. I think that maybe we typically didn't have, or I don't know why, but it's just like these episodes open up conversation in the house. And so I think it's been a good thing in that regard. So it wasn't something I learned, but it's something that has kind of like, I didn't expect that. Like I totally didn't expect that it would create dialogue in a good way for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I learned that I am more tech savvy than I realized I was. Because creating stuff for this podcast, there's several things that I learned. Like just been having a conversation with Janae, and she's like, "What if we did a podcast?" And I'm like, "Girl, I've been wanting to do it for you. Like, we got to do it. Got to bring Rosie and Dallas along." Yeah, it don't just happen like that. It takes a lot of work and effort to do this, and that's why it's so important to do things with the right people, right? Because this is something that, just like anything, can either make or break friendships. And one thing that I truly love about this space with you all, we've had a safe space and it hasn't broken us, but it is growing us. We could be understanding and just mindful of each other. And it's so much that has come with this. But yeah, I am way more tech savvy than I realized. And I'm going to add it to my resume.
You can add that line to your rap too. It hasn't broken us, but it's grown us. Something, something, something.
Really? Oh, she put you out there like that. You see, you saw what she did, right?
To bring up that rap. That's why Janae gonna be on the hook with me in that rap. Because she know what I can add to it. You got the flavor. This started me coughing. Excuse me.
For me, it made me realize I'm actually not as quiet as I thought I was. So yeah, I'm introvert. Similar to Keisha. I didn't think I was gonna be able to bring much to the conversation when Anita asked me about this, and I'm like, oh, no, Anita. But yeah, so it made me realize that I can, have more conversations than what I thought.
Let me ask you another question. So the podcast, did you realize that? Because Rosie, has that been your experience with O'Dallas?
No, because
she has not been mine.
O'Dallas got to get the gab, baby.
Listen.
Now I can ask a lot of questions, but if you notice, when you ask a question, you're not talking, you're listening.
But when you ask it, you're talking when you ask it, right? You be asking some loaded questions.
But it's a question though for you to answer.
Okay.
I've noticed also that family has been so supportive, and I'm thankful they have been so supportive and encouraging. I mean, I didn't have an expectation, but it has really made me so thankful for them and how they've supported this. Once they got past the shock of you doing what? Do they know you? Once they got past that, the support has been unreal. So I hope that's been the same for everyone. I think it has in our conversations. It has been. So Rosie, what'd you learn?
I learned a lot. I think for me, I tend to overthink. And so it's teaching me not to necessarily overthink. It's me versus me in my head sometimes. So I have to learn how to just say, you know what, girl, be quiet, sit still, and just pay attention. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Of course, I've learned other things. And I'm just grateful too. You had made the comment about Janae, about your husband and you having more conversation. I can relate so much to that because that's been my experience with mine as well. And like, he's my number one cheerleader, and we've been having conversations that we would not have had before 2025. I will tell you that. So I think the podcast is definitely what motivated that.
Cool. So Keisha, I know you're an accountant like me, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Does being an accountant, like, do you have things that spill over in your life because of being an accountant?
When you say spill over, I'm trying to. So spill over in what way? As far
Like,
as
right, in accounting, I mean, and maybe it's just me. That's why I wanted to know if you were the same way. There are things that like you think some kind of way, right? Because you are like, you have this, I don't know, adding and subtracting kind of mindset. And it's everything is black and white. Like, do you bring that into your regular day life? Like, how does that impact even or affects your family, your husband, your relationship with your friends? Like, does
I
it come
gotcha.
across into other things in your life?
Yes. And I think it's just how our brains work. I need order. I need structure. And I think that the ladies on the podcast will say that, like those who are asking the questions, what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it, is usually me and Odalis.
Y'all
Yes.
too.
What is going on? When are we doing it?
999.
Yes, like what are we doing it? And I think that's why we're such a great group, is that, especially like Anita and Janae, they're the big thinkers. This is where we're gonna go, and they see the finish line. And me and Odalis are like, okay, but what are the steps is it going to take to get there? And is everybody on board? And how have we planned and how we talked about it? Yes, that is my life. We lived a very structured life in that. The kids and just spilled over in that, when I was, they're all out the house now, but it was like, all right, every Saturday, everybody getting up, we're doing chores, everybody has a laundry day. And so it was very black and white as far as we all had a schedule. If I go out in the morning, I'm working until the first kid comes home, then I'm home, and then we're doing homework together. We have homework time. So that has all been, that's just how my mind works. And it works for us in that way. Travis is an accountant too, but
I was gonna ask about like, so how does that work with your husband? Because
we're in two totally different fields. Totally different fields. But he is too. But his mind doesn't work like mine in that sense. He's kind of like whatever, but he also knows, just give her what she wants. Like just we're gonna do it the way she wants to do it, because we'll all be happy that way. But yes, it spills over in that, and it's just how my mind works. I feel better when I kind of know what's going on. But that's one thing about God, is that's when sometimes you can't. And that's when I'm struggling. Sometimes when I can't figure out, God, where you going? Like this podcast, like, well, where are we going with this? Like, you pushing me like all the way out there. I didn't even have social media. I didn't even look at podcasts. And now you have me speaking in one. Like, God, you went from 0 to 60 on me, and you got to give me time to catch up. But that's when those times where I have to push myself back and allow God to be God, and forget that I'm an accountant, because he gave me that gift to be an accountant. But that doesn't mean I just stay in there. I have to be open to that. So now that I understand your question, and I apologize for the delay, I just didn't understand what you were saying. But now that I do, yes, accounting is my world in every aspect of my life.
So,
you know what?
why did you ask that question?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, because that's me, and it impacts my family. But my husband is not an accountant, so we do bump heads a lot. And so I was wondering, like, if it's just me, or is this just because of, I've been an accountant, and that kind of like just my mindset had shifted, because I'm pretty sure I wasn't like this all the time, right? I was a kid running around or whatever, and then this is the field that I chose, and it kind of has trained me in a way, right, to think some type of way, and so it's spilling over in everything that I do, not intentionally. And so I don't know sometimes, is it good or bad,
So I find that interesting that you say that, oh, Dallas, and I want to explore that a little bit more. So do you identify yourself with your career, or do you think that's just your personality and who you are?
No, but I noticed that a lot of things that I do are impacted because of what I chose as a career, even though that's not my identity, it's not who I am, it's part of what I do.
So with the structure that you two have as accountants, I feel like there's also a level of structure with those that are in the military, right? Because I was married to someone in the military, and there's a certain level of structure that I have to have in my life as well. So my question for you, Rosie, is with you have been in the military, and there's a level of structure that you have to have being in the military, right? How do you feel like that differentiates from how Keisha and Odalis is versus how, there's a level of structure in the military? Or do you think there is anything different, or how would you explain that?
So I don't necessarily think there is a difference. I think for me, I'm not a monolith. I don't feel like I exist in that one lane. I'm a flexor. So I can navigate between those spaces where I need to. So I'm very structured as well, but I also can be a little chaotic and unplanned. And I had to learn that. It wasn't easy, but I think the military kind of forced me to be thrust into being able to navigate in between those changing landscapes, because you might have a mission and that mission might be planned very well, but then you have to pivot at some point. So I have to be ready to pivot. So, and I asked that question to you earlier, Odalis, about, whether you identify with that based on your career, because I think that can be a lot of us in different ways. And every personality test that I've taken, my personality is just built that way, where I flex between one or the other, and how I can overanalyze things too, because I have a career now where I have to analyze data and analyze things all the time. But that doesn't necessarily show up at home for me, because I realized that I had to shift that to fit my family life, because they don't operate that way, and they don't operate well with it when I come home and you're like, I have to be structured. I need things, a certain way. In some instances they do, but my kids have just never done well with that military structure. And I think that's where we can talk a little bit more later about it. But me and Jay, both having a military background, we had to understand and have a conversation that sometimes we might need to pull back and not see it from that military lens, because it will sometimes hurt them. And if that doesn't answer your question, my apologies. I think that was me understanding what you were asking. So let me know if you have any follow-ups.
No. That definitely, because I do understand that there's a level of structure. Like, it shows up in this podcast, right? With Keisha and Odalis, with me and Janae, and then you are the flex, right? Me and Janae, we be thinking, execute, right? And it's not that we don't have structure in it. It's just the difference in how our minds operate, right? But I do know with the military, like I said, being married to someone that was in the military, structure was very important, in our family life more than anything. So knowing that you were in the military, that's what prompted that question from me to you.
And that's what I was going to circle back to Odalis, because Rosie, I can't remember the question you said, but you were like, does your career, you didn't use the term define, but because I can't remember exactly, it was something along those lines, right? But I think sometimes a part of our personality is what draws us to certain careers, like not the ones that we just signed for because we just needed a check. But I mean, like the ones that we're actually passionately invested in, a part of that has to be because a part of our personality says, hey, this excites me, like this draws me to it. So it has to be some level, not necessarily that your career defines you, but it has to be some level of, probably, even though you were the little kid playing outside, something inside of you probably was like, hey, I like kind of order, I like structure, I like numbers, something along those lines that as you got older, it just manifested more and more. But it was probably already there a little bit.
I agree. Yeah. Like I always like numbers. I don't know if Keisha, if you were the same way, but I love math. But there you go. So
but one weird thing about me is if you will have to get to know me to ever even know I'm an accountant.
Mm.
I don't talk about it. I don't share it. Like, I don't identify like as accountant. If you ask me, then I'll tell you. But normally, if you just ask about me, that won't come up. You won't know that about me. And I can't even explain why, but I try to make sure that that is not what defines me as a person. Like when Rosie was saying that, I really try not to do that. And so I am very cautious, and it's nothing that I'm ashamed of or anything like that by any means. And I love what I do. It's just that I am cautious and careful and, sharing that side as far as, and that's just something odd about me.
This is the funny part though, because you don't have to say it. You might not know that you're an accountant, but Keisha assesses, right? So Keisha will observe and quietly assess kind of like getting a feel.
You don't know me, Janae.
When we started doing this podcast, y'all, who asked the most questions, right? Who immediately was like, hey, let me put a schedule in the calendar and put some numbers in some dates in some order, right?
That prompted me to ask Keisha, what did she do? Because I'm like, wait a minute, I wonder what she does.
Shows.
So it was a surprise that you were an accountant when you said that.
Yeah.
So you might be saying, I don't have to verbalize it, but the way you like operate, and it's not like, I think, especially probably more in like this type of setting where we're kind of operating more from a business aspect. When we're having conversations, it doesn't necessarily, but when we go to things or when we're at family, you're like observing or like, notice things,
Yes.
so that's also kind of
You
like,
still don't know me though. Y'all have a fun one, please. I want a fun one now. All right. And Janae, I know how you are, and I know what you say. You're not going to make me do what I don't want to do. We got that. But you have two choices, and you got to pick one. You just, for this, you have
this
to.
For me or everybody?
It's for everybody, but you have to pick one. Okay. Sit through an entire scary movie. And I'm going to say this with no covering your eyes, no covering your ears, no walking out. Would you sit through an entire scary movie, or would you go through a haunted house? But you got to do one. Which one you doing? Which one you picking?
Going to no haunted house. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Hey,
okay. So you going for the scary movie?
I would go to the scary movie.
The whole thing, Janae.
My eyes, I'm gonna holler.
No,
I'm gonna bury my
why
head.
you always gotta be a rule breaker?
No, because I'm just being real. Like I am not going. I don't like scary movies. I don't like scary movies. But
that's the point of the question.
Yeah, but a scary movie gives me a little bit of freedom. Because if I'm in a haunted house, and you around me acting like a patient, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I'm not even putting myself in that situation to be out of control like that. So,
but you can run straight through if you need to. Like,
for me.
Just get through there.
I'm gonna do the movie. Your question. I'm not really gonna do the movie, but for the sake of the question, I'm gonna do the movie.
But with your eyes open, you cannot close them.
You cannot close them. You gotta white knuckle it and get through it.
That just reminds me of the time me, Anita, and Dallas went to that haunted house. Oh my God. That's a whole nother episode.
Tell us what happened.
So I will do a haunted house with my husband. With me.
Not even just her husband. It was all couples that had gone through there. Right.
Right. Okay. So let me tell you, I don't like scary movies at all. I will not watch them. I can't sleep. I get nightmares. So I can't do that. Especially if they're like, the Sixth Sense, like kind of like supernatural kind of stuff.
Demonic.
Not doing that.
No, not demonic. No, we're keeping it light. We're keeping it light.
Okay. Not doing that. No, but even like
I keep rebuking Jesus and everything. Like I told my kids to be like la 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 la. Now I don't be rebuking Jesus. I be rebuking in the name of Jesus. I don't be rebuking Jesus.
Oh, they have you all messed up. Oh, let me thought of it, have her all shook up.
So we did the haunted house. It was a couple's night out that we did one year, and we were going to this house, right? And they were giving us these necklaces. Like, if you want to be a tag or whatever, just wear the necklace or don't, or the other, right? If you don't want to be a tag, don't wear the necklace. So we know that not to touch you. So I didn't have mine, but my husband wanted to be a tag. So I'm like, they came for him, right? I got on his backpack. On his back, like a backpack. He was like, I'm like, no. It was just hilarious.
Oh man, that was
They couldn't take him.
Well, Dallas thought they was taking Tim to kill him for real. For real.
So it's safe to say you would do the haunted house versus the movie, Dallas.
Well, with Tim, because he's gonna be. I was like walking behind him, like, you know, he protects me.
Keisha, for me, I used to be a scary movie buff. I would prefer the scary movie as long as it's not demonic. Yeah. Like that used to be my thing. My son and I used to bond over that. So I would rather watch that. And I'm gonna be scary and, you know, looking around my shoulder every time I hear a noise. But yeah, you know, I just like jump scares, but none of the demonic stuff. I can't do that type of stuff.
Yeah, I would have to say the movie too, because after that haunted house, I literally felt like I was out there running for my life. Like the way they were chasing us with chainsaws, like I felt like at any moment one of them could slip and kill me. I don't want to experience that again. So it would definitely be, it would definitely be a movie, hands down.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think I'm going for the house because I'm just darting through. Like you're gonna have to catch me. Like right. I'm going straight through. Like I'm following the signs, and I figure that could be over so much faster than the scary movie. Like I'm the one who, if it's something suspenseful, I'm fast forwarding it, and then so I can see, and then once I see what happened, then I'll rewind it and watch it through. See, that's how I watch suspense. So I'm not doing a whole movie. I can't cover my eyes. I can't mute it. Nah. Yeah, I'm gonna run through the house. I'm gonna front to back. I'm through.
So Keisha, if you're going through a haunted house and ahead of you is somebody standing there with a chainsaw, right? And you have to go past them to get through. But they come in, the person that was in front of you.
I'm putting my money on me.
Real close.
I'm coming in hot.
Oh, no, that's right.
You're gonna fight them.
Yeah, I'm coming in hot. I'm telling you, I see the goal. I'm going through there. You're gonna have to take me down.
Oh, that is so funny.
It's the difference between suspense and horror. I'll do suspense, but horror,
I can't do either.
I think for me, horror would equate to like something like The Conjuring or The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Like those are horror films for me. But I know the definition varies because The Walking Dead is also considered horror, and I'm a fan. But you know, I'm worried about fake dead.
Why you like that, Rosie?
Janae, I am. So I was so against that show when it first premiered in 2011. My son, he was like, "Mom, you need to watch this." Again, me and him bond over that type of stuff. And it took me until COVID. So 10 years later, almost, we were sick and shut in, and we just started binge watching it. And when I tell you, I just love the whole like genre, all the storylines, because I think it's not necessarily about the Walking Dead, but more of the human elements and interactions, more than anything. Like what would happen if the world really came to an end? How would people show up? You know, you had some people, and I'm just giving you like, if y'all haven't seen it, I apologize for spoiling it for some people, but it just kind of defines how people try to maintain their humanity in the face of all bets being off. And there was like a sector who wanted to continue to try to be good in the world, try to be a light, try to help people. But because the world ended, other people were not. And so like it was this battle between that. So that's why I really enjoy it, to be honest. Would you prefer to wear heels or sneakers or tennis? We call them gym shoes in Chicago. But what would be your shoe preference? If you were going, and I'll just add an extra layer to it. If you were going out to hang out with your girlfriends on a brunch date or with your husband on a date night, what would be your preferred type of shoe?
Mine is heels.
Okay.
Heels.
Yeah, most definitely heels. But the way my feet set up, like because I work from home and I don't wear heels, like I need to shorten my heel though. Like it's almost needing to be flat. But yeah, it would be heels.
I'm a heel. I'm hybrid. I can do it all.
Mm-hmm.
I can wear a heel, but I can also wear sneakers and be just as comfortable. So even if going on a date, it depends on, like we will say a lot of times we'll have to make an arrangement like, okay, how are we going? Mm-hmm. And it kind of let me know, okay, do I need to step it up a little bit or not? But I'm open to do anything. And he's over 6'3". So one great thing about me is it doesn't matter the height of the heel that I wear. I'm still like this to him. So that give me a little playroom in it. But yeah, I can do a heel anyway. But getting older, the feet, and I don't care how good the shoe are, because I'm big on, don't wear shoes that hurt your feet. I think that's important. But even now, getting older, it's like, okay, these good shoes, but I guess these not good feet anymore.
I start with a heel, but I'm gonna end with a flat. Like I'm gonna have a flat in my purse. When we show up, I'm gonna show up in the heel. But when we transition, like out the restaurant or towards the latter part, like I'm shifting to the flat. But I just think heels look nice with jeans or dress. It's just something to me about heels just make me feel sexy or like I don't know. I just like a heel. Now some people can rock something with some sneakers, but my preference is the heel with some flats in my bag.
Okay, I know that's right. And I'm a heel girl too, but I'm learning, like Keisha was saying, that my feet ain't set up the way they used to be, and maybe it was the type of shoes that I was wearing, because I used to do those 5-inch stilettos. But now, like, we just went on a date for his birthday, and I wore some flats because I used to wear heels, but I just couldn't do it, so I had to wear some flats. But yeah.
So thank you guys for joining today's episode. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about us. From episode to episode, you get to see a little bit more about who we are and our personalities. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and tune in for some more episodes. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.